Audio check. Test, test, check. Looks like it should be good. Hey, good evening, everybody. Happy Tuesday. I hope everybody had a great week. So far, so good for me. Got a big announcement tonight. You're just going to have to wait a few minutes, though. I'll wait till a few more people get in the stream. It usually takes a couple minutes for folks to get notified and then get connected. But good to see folks in tonight. Got Tom Downey in, and he's in Texas helping his kids build a house. Richard Kirby is out in Florida visiting his kids. Got Tim Myers in. Bob Davis is also in the house. Aaron is lurking. Good evening, Aaron. And the Hope Bus is sitting in their hot tub right now, coming back after they soak in their hot tub. How would it be? Well, it's been cold and rainy here today, I'll tell you what. I don't think it got above 40, 42 all day. I tried to do a little work outside, and it was just so miserable. I threw in the towel and came in and took a nice long nap. But this daylight savings is sure, messed up my sleep schedule. I can tell you that for sure. So, yeah, we'll get started in a minute. A couple things we want to talk about tonight. I think we're going to chat a little bit about RV GPSs. Get your thoughts and ideas about those and what you like and what you don't like. And then we've been talking about winter camping for quite a while now, and how to deal with cold temperatures, and some tips and tricks on how to manage staying out camping or actually living full-time in your RV when it's cold. I been putting together a really interesting video. Hopefully it should come out here in the next, well, it usually takes me about 3 or 4 weeks, especially because I've got other things going on. But anyway, long short story. When I would winter in Tucson, to save a few dollars, I would usually just get a 30 amp spot. And I was in the same spot for 4 straight years at the RV park I used to stay at. Because, you save yourself roughly $100 a month if you would be on 30 amp service. And typically in the winter, 30 amps, no big deal. You're maybe running a space heater. Sometimes I would run my Rusty, the RV, had heat pumps, and so down to about 40 degrees you could run the heat pumps. And then the other nice thing about it is that the electric was included in that monthly rent, and it was I think the last year I was there was right around $535. Rick, I'll get to your question in just a moment. So yeah, 30 amps was just fine until COVID hit, and I stayed an extra 2 months in Tucson. And I had to come up with some pretty interesting tricks to stay in the 30 amp spot until one opened up, a 50 amp opened up, because I needed more AC, obviously. And a lot of people were in the same boat I was. They had no place to go. Everything was closed. So anyway, that video will be coming out real soon. And but let's see. Well, let's go back to the questions here real quick. Okay, so yeah, Tim and Tom and I were chatting about the weather and how we need we need a lot of snow here in Idaho badly. I think a lot of this rain that we've been getting today will turn into snow for the high country, so we'll keep our fingers crossed. Rick C. asks, what's better, 1 lithium or 2 lead acids? 1 lithium. You're going to get just about the same capacity, and they're absolutely maintenance free. So that would be my take. And it looks like Tom said the same thing, 1 lithium. We totally agree with that. Lithium batteries, the thing about lithiums versus lead acid, you got to keep in mind that you can only use half of the capacity of a lead acid battery. So let's say you have a 200 amp hour lead acid battery, you'll get 100 amp hours out of it when it's brand new. And then over time, you're going to get a little bit less and a little bit less and a little bit less and a little bit less as it wears out. Okay. Whereas with the lithium, if it says it's a 100 amp hour battery, you get 100 amp hours. The secret is a lot of the batteries they're making, Renology, Battleborn, Lithonics, they list it as a 100 amp hour battery, but it's probably closer to 105 or 110 amp hours. They give themselves a little bit of headroom on that. The second thing is that lithium battery, depending upon the brand, you're probably going to get a 10-year guarantee or 10-year warranty on it, that it will have 80% of the cycle capacity at 10 years that it had the day you bought them. You're not going to get that with a lead acid. If you get 3 years, well, let's go back and say you get 5 years out of your lead acid house batteries, you feel lucky. If you get 3 years as a full-timer, feel lucky, unless you're spending a lot of time in RV parks where you're hooked up. But if you're cycling those batteries, and what I mean by cycling is if you're drying them down and then recharging them, every one of those cycles counts on the lifespan of that battery. So yeah, so I would go with lithiums over lead acid for sure. Let's see. Okay, so we got that. Hey, George, aka Dad. I was looking back at an old comment of yours the other day. I was watching one of my old videos, trying to pick up some information I needed for another viewer, and one of your comments made me chuckle. But he says he's hanging in New England. They have a 4-month reservation in Florida. Task number 1: rescue sister ship from the RV repair shop that can't resolve the hydraulic fan problem. Yeah, you know, George, on my 04 DSDP, I blew the hydraulic fan climbing El Cajon Pass in 2013. Actually, what I did was I blew, excuse me, the hydraulic motor that drives the fan. Let me get rid of that gum. Sorry, that's rude. My mother would be smacking me on the head right now for talking with my mouth full. But so what I ended up doing was just replacing the whole unit, the hydraulic fan. For those with side mount radiators, diesel pushers with side mount radiators, they're almost always driven by a hydraulic fan, unless you're into like the buses, you know, like the MCIs, the Crowns, and a lot of those. They had you know, big fans in them that were driven by belts, and they'd have these, especially like the MCIs, you know, you would see these big huge belt loops in the old MCI buses that looked like a death trap. So anyway, I hear your pain. You know, it's like the same, it's kind of like that problem Tom was having earlier this year with the battery depletions, you know, with his batteries running down and trying to track that down. It can just take some time, and it sure is a pain in the butt when you go to real people, real mechanics that's supposed to know what they're doing, and they can't fix it. That's frustrating, for sure. Okay, so yeah, our leaves are pretty much all down. I hope I did the last of my leaf pickup this weekend. Fingers crossed. Okay, so Darlene Lilly. Hi, Darlene. It's sure nice to have you on the stream tonight. I was told I had a center bathroom and that it sits on the black tank. I'm afraid to ask. How secure is that? It's fine. That's the way mine's built. My bathroom, actually, it's a little rear center. My motorhome, Rusty, and it's set right over the black tank, and that's just fine. That's the way they're built. Nothing to worry about whatsoever. That's perfectly fine, Darlene. Ranger Rat asks, should I cover my motorhome in Michigan winter or not? Everyone has a different point of view. Okay, so Michigan is humid. And if you want to cover it, that's great. But you have to deal with the humidity inside the coach. When you cover it, you're just going to trap that much more humidity inside the coach. And so somehow you have to deal with that. Now you can use the humidity traps. And I've used those myself. The Evadry, Evadry. I believe you will find those, time for a cheap commercial, in my Amazon store. There's a link in the description of this video under handy items for RV owners. And so they require occasional maintenance. They have a little window in them that show you like blue when they're dry and pink when they're wet. But what's nice about them is you can pop them out, take them home, plug them into the wall for 12 hours. It dries them out, and you can take them back out and put them back out in your RV. And I found that 3 of those worked pretty good, but you got to stay on top of humidity, because humidity is a killer in RVs. Mold, mildew, it's just nasty, so you don't want to get into that situation, Ranger Rat. But covering your RV is going to protect the roof. It's going to keep the paint or the outside nicer. And in fact, Rusty, my RV, is in storage. I don't have it covered yet because I'm still doing a little bit of work on it, but the cover will be going on it very soon. And yes, I will use the dehumidifier packs, the Eva dries inside of it. I just hang them around inside. And then I go out regularly every month, every 3 or 4 weeks, month, something like that. I'll probably be making more regular trips than that out to Rusty because, as most of you know, one of our chat friends tonight that's in is Richard Kirby, and he's the new owner of Rusty. And I'm working on some upgrades and repairing a few things for him. By the way, Richard, I got a quote back on the furniture, and it blew me out of the water. It was outrageous. But we'll chat about that offline. And then, but yeah, stay on top of that humidity. That's all you need to do. And then also, of course, if it's windy, you want to make sure that cover's good and tight so it's not moving around and rubbing. And get a real RV cover. I saw this ad on Facebook just the other day, and I don't get on Facebook but maybe once a week max. But I saw this ad the other day for used billboard advertisements, because those are like big canvas things, vinyl. And they were trying to sell them as RV covers. No, do not use those. All right? Get yourself a real RV cover. You'll spend, depending upon the size of your rig, you could spend up to $400. I think the cover for mine was around $400, but I have a 40-foot Class A to take care of. And so, but yeah, my opinion is if you live in a harsh environment, wind, rain, snow, like Michigan, ice, then yeah, I think a cover is worth the effort. Arizona, or if you store it, where there's really bright sun or long sunny days and those sorts of things, yeah, keep it covered. Now, if it's parked by your house, in fact, it looks like Bob. Yeah, that's a good question, Bob. I'm going to jump up to Bob. I'll circle back to the other questions. But Bob says, this trailer's parked at the house. That being said, how about a full-size dehumidifier? Absolutely, Bob. I had a friend of mine who was working in Florida and ended up having to go overseas. And so he had to leave his RV in an RV park in Florida. And he did that. He took and put a humidifier in with a pump. And then what he did is that he took that hose from the pump and snuck it outside somehow and put it in the sewer line, or in his sewer dump, great blackwater dump or his sewer dump. And then that way that pump would cycle and pump out the water. Because that's the thing about humidifiers, right? If you're not there to watch it, you got to go pull the tray out, dump the water out. So it's probably not practical, particularly if you don't have electric. But Ranger Rat, if it's parked by your house, or if you have 110, I would definitely invest in a small dehumidifier with a pump in them. You can get it for a couple $100 and do something like that. Sneak it out, just drain it out on the ground. Oh wait, you're in Michigan. That might not be a good idea because it might freeze. Yeah, you might have to do some juggling to deal with the condensate that the dehumidifier collects if you were in a really cold climate like that. We'll have to think about that a little bit, see if we can come up with a good idea. Tom Downey reporting back, counting amp hours, yes, against lithium and lead acid. Okay, so we're 10, 14, 15 minutes in. I do have a bit of an announcement. I'm going to swing over here and let me clean up some real estate for you, and I do want to share this with you tonight as a sneak preview. You'll get to see the rest very soon. So hey everybody, it's DR back with my latest project. Yeah, I said I wasn't going to do it, but I did it. my channel, you'll know I said on the live stream the other night that I had looked at a camper that was on an auction, and I decided that, well, it had some issues, and I didn't know if I wanted to deal with those issues, so I wasn't going to bid on it. But then I started watching the bidding, and it was just going for way not enough money. Yeah, it needs some work, there's no question about it. It's a 1994 S&S with the classic bubble windows. Wait till you see these. Okay, so this is... So, yep, I did it. I bought that camper. I just couldn't see it go for what it was going to go on for. I probably shouldn't have been watching the auction, but guess what? What I was concerned about was some water damage that I'd noticed, and I'm pretty sure I got it tracked down. And it doesn't look that bad. And now I've done a lot of research on the S&S campers, and so let's chat about it for just a minute. They haven't made truck campers like that since 2011. They are a Montana company based in Kalispell, and their claim to fame back when they started making these campers in the early 70s, by the way, is when they started building campers, was they were in the, they were located in the Pacific Northwest, and they built campers for the Pacific Northwest. And so they were built for rain, snow, cold weather, nasty conditions. It's got an oversized furnace in it, like a 13,000 BTU furnace. And for a little truck camper, that's a big ass furnace. It's a nice rig. Inside, it's really clean. And I mean, I got everything. This was an estate sale. And so I got clothes, and I got everything: pots, pans, dishes, silverware, towels. Everything came with it. I mean, it was go in, pick it up, and bring it home. And I did that. It's got the stay-bill lift jack system on it, and that gave me a little trouble, but I'm not surprised. It's an electric system. Hang on. It's an electric system, and it basically what it does is it sandwiches the camper to the truck. You'll get to see more of it in a future episode, but I was able to run the jacks up for about 10 seconds, and then they just quit working. And I did a bunch of troubleshooting and finally just gave up, and so I just kind of wired around them. Fortunately, the motor to the cabling to the switch system had a natural junction in it, and I was able to take that apart, and I'd hauled a 12-volt battery with me, and so I just ran it up and down and got it on the truck with a 12-volt battery. I had to go back and forth because, I'd lift one side 6 inches and go lift the other, and back and forth. And fortunately, it was a lithium battery, so it only weighed about 50 pounds or 40 pounds. But the problem with that is that these switches, and you can see one here, and they don't really click. So they're 27 years old or older. They've been sitting out in the weather, and they're just wore out. So you can go buy one of these, and I went and searched online for the part number. There's a part number written right on it, 2738-007 or whatever it was, and I found it. And I could have bought it from some trailer company, because these are common switches for like the tongue jacks and leveling systems on truck campers and that sort of stuff, for $38 per switch. So I'd have been $76 because I need two. Or I went to DigiKey, and I got some for $11 that do the same thing. So it pays to do a little research. Anyway, that's really... I'm going to be putting a water heater in it. Of course, it's going to get solar. No question about that. I'm going to be putting a tankless water heater in it. I had the had the tankless in Rusty, my Newmar, and the tankless water heater is, it ranks right up there with the residential fridge as far as the best improvement I ever made in my RVing life. Unlimited hot water. Now, the argument, and people use this argument all the time, and I have to blow them out of the water. Oh, well, I have a 6 or 10 gallon water heater, so I have 10 gallons of extra water. Oh, yeah, maybe you do. But how do you get that water out of that water heater once your tank's empty? If you've got no pressure to push water into that water heater, you ain't going to get the water out, because air is not going to push that water out. So yeah, you might have a 10-gallon water heater, but you got 10 gallons of water. That's it. It's not going to come out of there unless you go out and open the valves and do a bunch of monkeying around. So poo on you if you think you're hot and to tot because you got 6 or extra 10 gallons of water, if you're counting the water that you're carrying around with you, that's because it ain't usable. Okay, that's a long way to say it ain't usable. Sorry about that. But so yeah, I'm super excited about this. For 2 years now, if you've been following the channel, you know that I want to do more expedition type excursions, I guess is really what I'm looking for. Not expeditions, but excursions, where I go out for 2 or 3 days, 3 or 4 days, maybe a week. Maybe if it works out, I was hoping maybe this winter I was going to be able to escape south for, say, a month, get down around Quartzsite, and I might still be able to. But, it's getting cold, and it's really tough to work on a rig out when it's 25 degrees outside, 30 degrees. But, yeah, there's a lot of stuff I want to do. I'm going to reseal it. I'm going to take the bubble windows out the front that I showed you. I'll pull those completely out, polish them, reseal them. There's a couple of little things I need to fix. I did test the systems. The fridge works perfectly. I'm surprised, being 27 years old, that it still works perfectly, both on gas and electric. It cooled right off, so I'm happy about that. Oh, and by the way, this is a one-owner truck camper. The person who had it has had it since the day it was sold out of Logan, Utah. So yeah, I'm super excited about that. The premiere on Sunday night of the episode that I kind of teased you with will happen at 7 p.m. as usual. Go back over the questions. You're very welcome, Darlene. Oh yeah, Tom Downey. No more acid problem. Exactly. No more corrosion. You don't have to maintain the terminals. All that kind of stuff. We're talking lithiums versus lead acid batteries. So yeah. Ranger Rat coming back, Rowdy's cover. Thanks so much. I have a good RV cover. It is also parked at my house with power hooked to it all the time. So there you go. If you could figure out how to deal with the condensate from a dehumidifier, and if it's at your house, maybe that's just part of something you do. You walk out there every day or every 2 days, depending upon how big the tank is and how humid it is, and pop it out and chuck it out the door and replace it. But watch the humidity. That's the big thing. Watch that humidity. Rick C. says, I'm thinking of heating my RV with an electric heater while sitting in my driveway this winter. Am I wasting my money? Well, I don't know. It depends. There's a lot of, fear out there about energy prices. Natural gas is way up. Propane, they're saying, is going to be way up. So propane might get expensive, and I think you're probably just going to have to try it and see. The math is easy to do, right? If you have a 1,500 watt heater, we're going to assume that you're going to use 1,500 watts, and that's 1.5 kilowatts an hour. And if you're paying, let's make the math easy, 10 cents a kilowatt, that means you're spending 15 cents an hour to heat with electric. Now, take that against your propane furnace. Let's say that it uses, 0.6 gallons an hour if it's running full time. And of course, it's not going to run full time. So let's say it uses 0.6 gallons an hour. Let's say it runs 15 minutes of the hour. So that's 0.15. What's a quarter of 6 is 2. And so you're using roughly 2 gallons. Is that 2/10 of a gallon an hour? Let's say you use, in 5 hours, you would use a gallon, and that gallon might cost you $3. So what's the math on that? Let's make the math easy. Yeah, so it might be a little less expensive to heat with electric, but we could, maybe that might be a fun little exercise to work out the math on that. But that's kind of my thoughts on it, Rick. Yeah. I always put everything into cost-benefit analysis kind of thoughts, What's it going to cost me to do it this way versus this way? And then, I guess that helps guide my decisions as I go down the road. Half past the hour just about, so it's time for the obligatory commercial to remind you that I have an Amazon store. And as an Amazon affiliate, I get a small commission, but you pay the same price. And there's a link in the description below. Plus, don't forget to like the video. That's very helpful. It gets it ranked up in Google's eyes and YouTube's eyes, and more people will get to see it on the replay. Visit my website, trbowland.com. Lots of great RVing information over there. If you're not subscribed, you probably want to subscribe because I'm going to have a great series of videos rehabbing that truck camper. I started to talk about this a little bit ago, and how I've been thinking about it for 2 years. And so we'll chat more about that in just a second when I finish the commercial. If I forgot anything, thumbs up, Amazon, subscribe and like, check my website, and keep watching. Okay. So, I've been thinking about this for 2 years because I want to do more expedition, excursion type camping. And we chatted about this a little bit last week before I made the decision to purchase this. I'll talk about the auction here in just a second. And because I want to be able to go out and get down into some place and just fish for a couple days, or be much further off the beaten path than you can get in a Class A. Now, honestly, I have spots all over the West where I know I can go in the Class A, and there's only 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 miles of dirt road you have to drive to get to them, and they're appropriate for a Class A RV. I've spent hours and hours on Google. I would go to a place, and this is one of the things I liked about full-timing, is I could go to a place, and then I could stay someplace for a week or 10 days or 2 weeks, and then I could go do excursions with my Toad, with the car, and find these places and check them out. But now, I'm not going to have to worry about that so much because I'm going to just basically be back in. If you can drive a pickup there, you should be able to drive a truck camper there within reason. I'm not going to get way off road, all right, but I want to be able to get off the road a little bit. We'll go to the chat, and then I'll come back to waxing poetically about having a truck camper and what I want to try to accomplish. Okay, let's see. Tom Downey. That's a good point, Tom. Put sponges at the corners or all your high pressure points. That will help keep it from rubbing on your coach or your trailer and making, rubbing a mark on it, and keep that from the tarp from rubbing through, wearing out, the cover from wearing out and getting torn in the wind and stuff like that. So great point, Tom. Hi, Two Feathers. Great to have you in. I did Two Feathers. I bought a truck camper. Tune in Sunday night, 7 p.m. for the premiere episode when we take a look at the outside. Regina Wood asks, why does my propane keep kicking on when I have my thermostat set on electric heat and I'm plugged in? I was hoping not. Let's see, Tim Myers, answered that, or at least had a thought about it, and he's absolutely right. He says that, Regina Wood, you probably have a heat pump, and a heat pump can't heat much below about 40 degrees. Even if you're on electric heat, once you drop below 40, the propane heat has to come on, and that's absolutely true. Now, the units have gotten a little bit more efficient. So, on older rigs, say pre-2018, you have 40 degrees, depending upon the humidity, is about as low as you're going to go. And the way to tell is that you'll be sitting there and the heat pump will be running along fine. It'll be making heat. And then the fan will turn off, but the heat pump will keep running. So you'll hear the heat pump running. And then the fan will turn back on and deliver a little bit more heat. So the fan might run for 3 or 4 more minutes. And then the fan will shut off, and then the heat pump will grind. Okay? And so that's a sure sign that there's not enough heat in the air for the heat pump to bring heat in, and so that's when you need to move over to electric resistance heating with a space heater, or use your furnace that's built in. Now, I saw Regina answer. I'll circle back in a minute here on the other questions. She answered, thank you so much, but it was 50 degrees. Huh. Well, now we need to dig in a little bit more. Do you know what kind of air conditioning heat pumps you have and what type of furnace? Because they're two different systems. Let's make sure we understand that. The heat pumps will be on your AC units that are on the roof. And then, of course, your furnace is typically propane fired and located somewhere in the rig. Now, there's also the Oasis type heating system. And in fact, I just see the Hope bus pop in. Hi, guys. And I ran into them over onto the LaCroix Cruisers YouTube channel where they were doing a premiere of finishing up an Oasis system on a bus over there. And what the Oasis is that's that hot water system that, puts heat into the floors. You can also make your domestic hot water with them. They run on diesel, or I think they're multi-fuels, but they run on diesel. But yeah, so she says, okay, your 2015 Jayco Greyhawk, I'll get it out. So you're probably going to have typical heat pumps and then a typical furnace. So my first question is, how long has it been since you cleaned your air conditioning units or had them cleaned? Regina, while you're answering, I'll circle up and answer other questions. Thank you, Darlene. Yes, I thought it was a good score. Appreciate that. Tom Downey, as long as any water heater is working, I'm not playing with it. Yeah, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Good policy on life. I live that way most of the time. But in the case of the water heater, I'm going to change it. Tim Myers laughs about having an older rig. Yeah, Tim. All right, so let's see. Two Feathers says they need cleaned. Yes. The condenser coils, there is a video on my channel on cleaning the condensers, the coils in your AC units. Yeah, because what happens is as they run, dust gets stuck in between the fins, and it reduces the efficiency. And so one of the things I did in 2020 when I was stuck in Tucson for the heat, because of COVID and all the heat, is I got up and I did maintenance on both my AC units, and I just used canned air. Right. I just used, you can pick up a 6-pack of canned air at Costco. If you have an air compressor, that would work just fine. You can use water, but you got to be careful if it's a ducted or non-ducted system. There's all kinds of stuff that I don't want to go into in the live stream tonight. But yeah, they need to be cleaned occasionally, probably every couple years. And if you spend a lot of time in dusty conditions, then probably a little bit more often. And of course, they make these cleaning solutions, right? You can spray on that help clean the coils off. And as long as you can keep the water from getting inside of your RV, those would work fine. I just tend to prefer air myself because air, you can just blow everything out. Like I said, I used canned air when I was in Tucson because I didn't have an air compressor with me. But if you had a little air compressor, just be careful. But blow it out. It makes a big difference. So great to see you. And again, Hope Bus and Two Feathers. Yes, they need to be cleaned. Okay, Regina says, I just got my Jayco in May. Yeah, you might want to look into getting your air conditioners cleaned since it's a 2015. That puts it, 6 years old. And yeah, it wouldn't hurt to maybe have your ACs cleaned. It will help them run more efficient. And it may help that heat pump stop cycling. Oh, and real quick. Somebody called me out a while back, somebody who watches the channel regularly, and I consider you my friends and is a friend. He sent me an email and said, I thought you quit smoking. And I did, a long time ago. But I have widgets, and it happens to be that a lighter is one of my widgets. So keep my hands busy. I've got a widget. When I worked, I had a whole drawer full of widgets. I had a little steel cube. I had all kinds of stuff. But it keeps my hands busy, and it keeps me from thinking about smoking. So just because there's a lighter on the desk, that's my widget. I don't even know if it'll light. Oh, it does. So I'm surprised. But yeah, it's just a fidget tool. Ron Bunge. Hey, Ron, great to have you in. Hope you made it back to the desert just fine. Okay, Regina. Yeah, it's not that difficult. Just be careful. I can't overemphasize this enough, and I did emphasize it in the video. But after those fairings, the plastic piece that sits on top of the RV, on top of the AC, I should say, sit in the sun for a while. They get really brittle. And so you want to be really careful when you're taking the screws out and taking them off. Don't rank them, crank them, lift them off gently, and try to lift it from two corners. Okay, let me see if I can get my lifting in screen there. But yeah, try to lift them from two corners. They're replaceable. They're about $100, depending upon which unit you have, if they're even available. I'm running into some availability issues. I need to get a new fantastic fan. I don't hate smokers. I understand where you're at, Two Feathers. So anyway, what was I saying? Oh yeah, I need to get fans, but it seems like the ones that I want are out of stock. I'm looking for some corner ceiling tape for the camper. It seems to be out of stock. Oh, and by the way, maybe you guys will know, I could use your help. This little piece of trim, can you see this? Okay. So around the containers, around the compartment doors on the outside of the rig, of the truck camper, these little pieces of plastic, they're just miter cut, nothing special about it. But anybody have any ideas where I could find this? I've been looking. I can find the corner, the rubber corners that you use to hide the corner trim strips, to hide the screws in the corner trims. But man, I have not been able to find this. It's just plastic. Quite a few of them are missing, very brittle. And in a restoration, I was just hoping that I could find something like this and replace all the little trims that go, because these hide the screw, the flanges, the screws in the flanges around the compartment container door, the compartment doors in the outside of the truck camper. So if anybody knows where to find that kind of stuff, be sure and let me know, would you? Because, man, I could sure use about 15 or 20 feet of that. Thank you, Hope Bus. Hope Bus says, but wait, doesn't holding a lighter make you feel like you have half of a puzzle? No, I don't know. It was just a fidgeter. I don't know. I've always kind of been a fidgety guy. So, it's just my nature, I guess. Francesco Magdaleno? Gosh, I hope I didn't brutalize that too bad. Hello, Francesco. It's so awesome to have you in. He says, hello, I have a 1972 Dodge Model M300 motorhome chassis. So here's the question about the 1972. I can't find anything parts of my 1972 Dodge now where I can looking for all of them, the parts, what place? Okay, I think I got it, sorry. So Francesco, finding old parts for RVs is tough. You're probably only going to be able to scrounge through the junkyards, the RV graveyards. Cola in Missouri has a website, and you could call them and say, hey, do you have a Dodge 300 in stock? You might be able to scrounge a few parts that way. There's one out in Florida. Anybody on the stream remember the one that's out in Florida? But there are 2 or 3 really big RV salvage yards. Cola comes to mind because I've actually got parts from there before. And so that's a place that you can get them. As far as your 72 Dodge, you should be able to find a lot of the parts, maybe, that you might need as far as mechanical parts for the chassis. You might get in trouble finding like suspension parts and stuff like that. But yeah, restoring a vehicle from the 70s, especially an RV, is going to be a challenge. And you're going to have to get really creative. And you're probably going to have to make some of your own parts. I mean, like if you're restoring the inside or restoring the outside, you're probably going to end up having to do that. You're probably not going to be able to source those parts. But yeah, I would start calling around and finding RV scrap yards, junk yards, salvage yards. Google search those, and I think that's probably going to be your best bet, Francisco. And then of course you might be able to find certain parts, like motor overhaul parts. You're probably going to be able to find those online. They're probably still going to be readily available from the 70s. Performance parts for your engine, probably you'll probably be able to find. You'll probably be able to get things like wheel bearings and those sorts of things. Running gear kinds of things, transmission stuff. You'll probably be able to source locally. But yeah, I think you're destined to be spending a lot of time searching for parts. I wish it was easier. I would do more restorations on older. Yep, good one, Tom. eBay, another great place to look. Craigslist. You might find that it might be better off, and I know that a lot of people do this. In fact, I did this on a Fiat. I rebuilt a Fiat Spider, 1999 Fiat Spider, 124 Sport Spider for those of you, and I ended up buying a junked car for parts, a salvage car, but it was basically a wrecked car. But yeah, I went and got it and put it on a trailer and hauled it home. But I got a lot of the parts off of it I needed. But yeah, the other place you might check is a website called irv2.com. You may find some aficionados out there that have the Dodge M300s, or there may be groups online for the Dodge M300. And those are great places to find, because they're enthusiasts. They're people that have them. They're exchanging information about where to find parts and those sorts of things. So it's definitely worth doing some research and looking to see if you can find, user communities around your rig. But IRV2 is a good place to look. IRV2.com. That's a big RVing website. Tom Downey says he's done that with aircraft. Yeah, bought a salvage, or you're trying to build a Cessna 172. But you need parts, and the only way to get them is to go buy a junked or a wrecked Cessna 182. Totally get that. So, you're fine, Hope Bus. Don't worry about it. It's all good. Tom Downey, paint all the plastic with silver paint. It will protect the plastic. Yeah. For being 27 years in the environment, outside, it's in not bad shape. It's just a bunch of missing pieces. And so I'm trying to do it, if I have to, I'll mill, I'll buy some plastic like that. I can mill that with a router. I'd rather not do that. But yeah, I did buy a router off an auction a couple weeks ago, and a router table. So I could route that. I could mill that and route it myself. I'd just rather not. If I could buy it, what takes you 10 hours to mill, it's that cost benefit thing, right? You're fine. Yeah. Okay. Britta A. Hi, Britta. Great to have you on the stream tonight. We are living in a fifth wheel over the winter in Tennessee. Is there anything we should do during the freezing days? Is it worth it to put insulation paneling around the bottom? Well, yes. Here's what you need to pay real attention to. Okay? You don't want your water bay or utilities to freeze up. And so, first off, get yourself a heated water hose with a thermostatic control. You'll find one in my Amazon store on handy items for RV owners. And you'll be able to support the channel. We'll appreciate it. But a heated water hose, they're thermostatic. They don't turn on until it gets down to like 38 degrees, and then they turn off when it's warm enough. The second thing is you want to make sure that your water bay doesn't freeze, where your water connects and your sewer lines connect. Now, the safest way to do that is to get yourself a trouble lamp. And they're hard to find because now everything's gone LED, and you really need an incandescent bulb for this. But if these old trouble lamps, they had incandescent bulbs, but they were in a cage. And so you could take and hang it inside the water bay or lay it inside the water bay. If not, they also they're called brood lamps. And what they are is they're just a light, but they have a big reflector on them that's about the size of a pie plate. And they're used for brooding birds. So you'll usually typically put a heat lamp in it and help put those over the birds. It helps keep them warm. You don't want to use a heat lamp. You want to use a 60 or 100 watt incandescent bulb. They're hard as hell to find, but if you scrounge around, you might be able to find one. You might have to get some kind of funky specialty bulb, but then just turn it on when it's going to get freezing. And that will put enough heat in your water bay to keep it from freezing up. The last thing is your sewer hose. It's fine to leave it out, but don't leave water in it. So if you don't have it on a sewer hose slinky, one of those extendable things, that keeps your sewer hose pitched at an angle, when you dump your tanks, make sure you walk the hose from the RV back to the dump spot. Okay, back to wherever you're connected to the RV park or wherever you're staying's sewer connection. And make sure you dump the water out of that hose. That will keep it from freezing and breaking the hose, and also it will stop it from freezing. And so when you next need to dump your holding tanks, if that hose is frozen, well, it's going to be hard to get that ice out of that hose. So just make sure you walk that hose, you know what I'm talking about, right? And you dump your tanks and you're done. Just grab that hose and hold it up and walk it back to the your sewer standpipe, if it's not on a sewer slinky, and dump the water out of it, and you should be okay. So those are the main things to look for. Now, as far as insulating the base, that depends. The thing about insulating is that if you're in a windy area or an exposed area, it's probably a good idea to block the wind from going underneath your rig. Okay? If it's not particularly windy, or you're in kind of a spot where you've got lots of cover, then you might not find a lot of benefit to skirting, is what they call that, skirting the RV. So I can't give you a yay or nay on the skirting. I think if it's just for the winter, you're probably going to be okay. I don't know if I would waste my time on that. Let's go over to the audience and see what the audience thinks. Okay, I'll answer your question in a minute, Regina. Okay, so I did 2 feathers. I'll get back to that. Okay, alrighty. So, those are thoughts on winter camping. I hope it helps, Britta. Regina says, looking for a small vehicle to tow behind my Class C. Can any all-wheel drive vehicles be flat-towed? There are very few. There's going to be more and more, but the search for toads, T-O-A-D, that's what we call our towed vehicles, a towed, T-O-A-D. You probably be IRV2 or just a Google search on what cars are towable 4 down, and you'll probably get a list that will tell you. I towed my 2014 Subaru Crosstrek, but it's a 5-speed manual, and all I had to do was put it in neutral. There's some other things you need to do, of course, right? You got to have the ignition key, have to have the ignition on so the steering wheel's unlocked. There's a couple other minor little things that you have to do, but overall, look for toads, search for toads. I can't tell you. I mean, I know CRVs are popular, Jeeps are popular. Jeeps are really popular rigs, and then the Honda CRVs were, they're all the rage. There's a couple Buicks that I think you can tow, the Endeavor or something like that, but I don't have the list in my head. But you can find it online. Again, with a Google search, towing vehicles 4 down or with all 4 wheels on the ground, And you should be able to get a good list of smaller vehicles that'll work for you, Regina. Okay, let me go back up and pick up the question I missed. Two feathers. Okay. Do I know the ribbing that runs along the outside of the rig to hide the screws? Is that easy to replace? It's about a ½ inch wide and many feet long. Yes, it is. You can buy that online, and then you get a rubber strip. And are you sure you need to replace that whole piece, or you just need to replace the rubber? Two feathers, because you could get both. But you need to get a measurement of how wide that rubber is, and then rubber trim strip filler. I believe will get you there on Amazon. And of course, I have an Amazon store called the what did I call that one? The Truck Camper Refit, and I've already got a roll of 1 inch in there because I'm going to need some of that to replace mine. But yes, that's very easy to replace. It's a little tedious, but it's not bad. Here's a trick for you. Get yourself some plastic bicycle tire tools. So they're usually you can get a set of 3. They're $3 or $4, but I found that they work really good. That and some soapy water. Just take a little bit of dish soap in a spray bottle and use the spray soap on that rubber piece, and using the tire tool from your bike tire tools, you can get it hooked over the end of that and just run down, and it will just put it in. I believe they make tools specifically to do that, but I happened to was working on a friend of mine's fifth wheel. We put a new roof on his fifth wheel many years ago now. And I was looking for something to help do that, and I was thinking screwdrivers, but I didn't want to tear the seal. And then it dawned on me, I had these bike tools; they work perfectly. Plastic extrusions by size and found multiple vendors. Might give a shot. Yeah, I sort of looked at some of that, Tim, but I couldn't find anything that shallow. They were all too tall. But I didn't look that long. I thought I'd take the easy route, ask for help. Nobody could give me good help or say, "Oh yeah, I know exactly where to get that." Just go here. But yeah, I've done a little bit of that. I'll probably have to do a little bit more. But the other thing too is I don't want to have to buy 1,000 feet. I might need 20. So sometimes with those plastic extrusions, yeah, you can get them, but you buy them 500 feet at a time or something like that. By the way, two feathers, if you replace that, you want to make sure that you get some lap sealant tape underneath that strip. So if you take that trim strip off, you need to reseal it with lap sealant tape. It's $10 a roll. You get like a 50-foot roll. But yeah, you want to reseal that seam with lap sealant tape if you take the metal trim strip off. Ivan Josie RV, hi, welcome. Great to have you guys. Do you guys get your rig back and everything working okay for you? They were on the last leg of their trip from a huge cross-country excursion and broke down on the last leg, which I guess is probably the best place to do it, but it's always a pain in the butt to break down. He says, question, do I know what product I can use for the pads that keep our water tanks heated? Yes. It doesn't come to me, but they have stick-on pads that are 110 volt, that you can stick onto the sides of the water tanks that will help keep them from freezing. Yeah, I would do something like a Google search for RV water tank heat pads. But yeah, they make them. I can't remember what they're called right now. See all this gray hair? It sucked all the brain cells right out of my head. Yeah, I don't remember exactly what they're called, but I will look it up, and because that's a good question. Tim, always on there, on the way to go. Yeah, the Dinghy Tow Guide by Roadmaster. They put a book out by Vehicle Year that tells you if a vehicle can be towed and what you have to do to tow them. Perfect. I knew there was a book out there, the Dinghy Towing Guide. I haven't looked for a towed, well, since 2014, actually 13 when I bought my Subaru. So I'm a little bit out of touch. Okay, George, aka Dad. Yeah, they're classic RV specialists. I just posted 3 now. If you don't want to, they focus on, they know who to go to for parts. Yeah, exactly. Thanks, George. Perfect. Yeah, that's excellent. And it's probably if you posted URLs, George, for Francisco, they probably won't post. I have the filter set, and I can't go unset it in the middle of a stream, but it blocks all URLs. It just stops spammers from overtaking your channel and putting up a bunch of crap. So, George, I believe you have my email address. Throw those links to me, and then I can post them from my end. So if you want to mail those to me, George, I think you have my email address. If not, it's trbolin@gmail.com. And then I'll post those links for Francisco and see if we can get him going down the right road. Excellent. Thank you so much. Gary Reed, Upper State New York has a big scrapyard. Find a thing, old RVs and cars. Order of Canada. Okay. So yeah, that's a good one to know about. George, okay, we talked about that. Britt A, you're very welcome. Thank you for joining the stream tonight. Gary Reed, Jeep. Yeah, a lot of Jeeps are very popular. Toad on a trailer? No! No toads on trailers. Trailers suck. I had a towed trailer. Ugh, I hated it. Now, some people don't think it's such a bad thing. And maybe you're one of those, Tom. And I probably just, peed on your cornflakes. But I didn't mean to. Yeah, no trailers. I see that, and it works fine, right? I just know that it's a pain in the butt to have to deal with that trailer when you get to wherever you're going. Let's see here. 4 down tow guide. Yeah, thanks, George. Cycling back. Ron Bunge. I might have missed it, but do you get a truck to use with the truck camper? Yes, Ron, and no. I am looking for a new truck. Well, not new. Be new to me. But I haven't found the one I want yet. I'm not being very particular. I do need a 3/4 ton, which is proven to be a big, a bit more of a, there's half tons out the yin yang online, but 3/4 tons are a little bit further. Fewer and far between. I'd go with a 1 ton too. It wouldn't make any difference to me, but I definitely need a 3/4 ton for the weight of the camper, because it's around 2,400 pounds, fully loaded, and that doesn't count all my stuff. So I'm probably going to be packing 2,900 pounds down the road. So yeah, 3/4 ton is going to be a minimum, and a 1 ton. Two Feathers, thank you so much for the super chat. That is greatly appreciated. You too, Regina. I just can't say thank you enough. I try to have a very open and honest discussion and open community, and everybody is welcome, and there are no dumb questions, only dumb answers from the host. Hopefully they're minimum. But thanks again for the super chats. I appreciate you both. I appreciate everybody, actually. You don't have to do that. Tim Myers, yeah, okay. Two Feathers it is shy in the corners where it bends. Oh, okay. Yeah. You definitely want to get those corners sealed, though. Two Feathers. Ron, yeah. So actually, the story goes, I was answering that, and then I got distracted. Shiny thing. I bought a truck, a F-250 truck, on an auction this spring. Because I needed to haul stuff. Right? I needed lumber, I needed stuff, going to the dump, instead of having to hire, have a dumpster brought to the house, that kind of stuff. So I bought a F-250 on auction that needed a clutch, and I put a clutch in it right here in the backyard. No big deal. I'd done clutches and mechanical work like that before, and on an older 2002 Ford F-250 is what I bought. Two-wheel drive, long bed, Super Duty, just your basic plain old Ford work truck. And I'll be selling that as soon as I get a different pickup. You're welcome, Two Feathers. Yeah, she says she was wondering how to feed it in. You're welcome. Regina Wood, where do I get you to your Amazon store? If you look in the description of this video or any video on my page, you'll find a link to my Amazon store, or you can just go to amazon.com/shop/trbolin, and that'll take you right to my store as well. And your support again is greatly appreciated. I had a question about super chats last week come up, and I got an email from a gent who, and I appreciate everybody who reaches out and wants to send me a super chat and that sort of stuff. I've been asked to do a patron page, Patreon, whatever. Maybe, I'll think about it. I've been doing this now for 4 years. Right about this time as when I published my first YouTube video about 4 years ago. And I haven't done Patreon because I don't want YouTube to be my life. I love doing this. I love interacting with folks. I love doing the how-to videos because I get so many positive comments back from people about, oh my God, you saved me so much time or so much money, or you made it so easy to do this or that. And that's why I do this. It's not for the money. In fact, the money is, third or fourth or fifth on the list, really, when it comes right down to it. I don't want to feel this pressure to have to publish every week, although I do, or generally do. In fact, here recently it's going to be, and continuing now going forward, it'll probably be the live stream on Tuesdays, and then a truck camper overhaul on Sundays, or a project I'm doing on Rusty, my old RV, Rick's new RV, because I'll be doing floor and some stuff like that, and we'll be recording and sharing that with you on Sunday nights as well. So lots of RV how-to to come. But so anyway, the point of the story is that I haven't done a Patreon. I've considered it. I've been saying that I was going to put my PayPal and my Venmo on my page, and obviously I haven't done it yet because, it's not about the money. I turn down sponsorship requests all the time. People want me to review this or that product, and frankly, they all look like cheap Chinese crap. And you're going to get stuff I'm going to recommend to you I would use myself. And I don't want to get into this compromised situation where I get this product and I'm expected to do a review and it's a piece of crap and I have to tell the truth. And I just don't want to do that. So anyway, your support is greatly appreciated however you do it. Through my website, through my Amazon store, through super chats, or just by watching my videos. That's great. Thank you so much. Okay, so Michael says, my Fadeon ceiling droops a little. I asked an RV service tech. He said no issue with water leaks. Since then, I have seen several in my year with the same look. Just one area in center. Probably what's happened is the glue has failed. So I think the Fadeons, and sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong, Fadeon? I've been watching them drive down the road for 12 years. I still don't know how to say the name. But it's probably the glue. And so what you might do is there any opening near there? So is there like a light mounted to this ceiling, or maybe a air register? Because you can drop those and get yourself some adhesive, glue, rubber, cement, something like that. and put it on a stick, and you can reach up in there and re-glue it and stick it back up. But it's a problem. It's a common problem with headliners, that the glue that holds it up to the backing will fail, and so they'll droop a little bit. And you can get around that, like I say. But yeah, if it's in the center, you can't get to it practically. You know, you could probably maybe use something like a upholstery button or something like that, and tack the headliner back up and use an upholstery button to whatever, wherever you say you had to staple it or something like that. I don't. Other than that, you would have to take it down, and the way those things are built, that covering goes completely over the top of the wall. Okay, so you can't. I mean, you have to cut it to get it out. Is, I guess, what I'm trying to say, and that's going to make it really difficult. But if there were convenient seams, it could be repaired. But it would probably be a lot of work, and if you didn't do it yourself, it'd probably cost you a lot of money. So you might just have to end up living with it. Tim Myers just said the same thing. Yeah, his Winnie has the same problem. Pain in the ass to fix, for sure. Two feathers, that would be fine. Send a picture. Yeah, you're probably thinking about the rubber fill strip, and yeah, that's going to be readily available. But we'll work it out offline. Ivan Josie, I guess you already answered my question. Sorry, I was saying goodnight. Yes. In short, I can't remember the exact name of what they call those pads, but they're just RV water tank heat pads. And they're a rubberized heating pad with an adhesive face on them. You peel, it's a peel and stick type of thing. Peel them off, stick them on, hook them up. And they are 110. I don't know if they can get them in 12 volt. That's the only thing I don't know. But you can get them 110. And yeah. So, but I don't remember the exact term they call those. Okay, thanks, George. Bob Davis, looks like a good excuse for a 3D printer. Yeah, quit reading my mind, Bob. Michael says, what is PITA? I think I answered that. Mike. Try backing up a 4-down toad. Okay, I'd be happy to. My toad backed up just fine. All I had to do was lock the steering wheel. Now, you're not going to be backing it up 100 feet, okay? But you could back it up 10, 15, 20 feet easily. All I would do is just jump out and lock the steering wheel. But yeah, you're right. You can't back up a toad on a tow dolly either, because now you got a triple pivot, and that's really tricky. So anyway, Tom Downey, yeah, my tow bar was far more expensive in my trailer. No wiring harness to mess with. Yeah, or if you're doing it by law, you have to have breakaway switch too, right? So if you have a toad and you have, you need a braking system in that toad, which is going to cost you somewhere between $400 and $900, depending upon how you do it. And that's got to have a breakaway switch on it. So if it breaks away, it sets the brakes on the toad. Legally, that's the way you're supposed to tow. I'm betting 60% of RV'ers don't have braking systems on their toads. But yeah, tow bars can get expensive real fast because you got to you got to have a plate installed on your rig, on your car, for the tow bar to connect to. Yeah, tow bars are expensive. But hi, Gary Sharp, great to have you in, lurking. Yeah, two feathers. That tape is available on Amazon or most RV supply stores. Flexible and easy to replace. Absolutely, George. Well, Tom, I was thinking that same thing, inject that sealing liner with maybe not a cow needle, but you could go to like a vet supply and get a large bore needle and some adhesive, and you could very carefully, pierce that liner and squirt a little glue in and then, stick it back up. And that would probably be the way I would try to fix it, actually, would be to go to a farm and ranch store and pick up a large animal syringe with a large bore needle. And yeah, I would. That's the way I would fix it. Actually, is inject it with in glue, and this, make a rig that you could hold it up long enough for the glue to set. I don't know if I'd use white glue. I'd probably use something more like around a rubber cement or something like that, because that's less likely to bleed through. And that's something you want to keep in mind, is that if you put that glue up there, you want to test it in a spot and make sure it doesn't bleed through and make your roof, your ceiling look like hell. Might be easier to live with it. Yeah, pitch it and work it in. Yeah, I was mentioning that I use these tire tools, mountain bike tire tools, like you would get in a mountain bike toolkit. Let's see here. Two feathers. Okay, good. Ivan Josie, good night. Thank you so much for watching, Ivan Josie. Have a nice evening. Two feathers, you're welcome. Coming up on 8:10. Yes, it is, George, aka Dad. Those trim strips are secured with a screw at the beginning and the end, usually. Tim Myers, there is a YouTube video of a guy using a needle and contact cement to fix small area. Problem is the foam is breaking down. So the repair only lasts a couple of months. I know, I tried. Okay, well, yeah, so then you're basically relegated to cutting it out and replacing it, and that is a big project. Yep, that's a big project. Oh, Tim says he's doubling up on the battens that run across the ceiling, so there is only a 2-foot section unsupported. That's a trick. Yeah, there you go. So you could add some trim. That would work great. You could use some kind of a trim strip to hold it up. Paul Hudson, a new face and a new name. Hi, Paul. Welcome to the channel. Great to have you in the chat tonight. Just ordered a 2022 Lance 1172 truck camper and picked a Trauma Aguayo tankless water heater. Have you had any experience with these types of water heaters? Yes, the Trauma is very good. I'm going to go with Gerard. I am going to go with Gerard for myself. Just a moment. I have to do something there. Thank you. Spammer alert. This is a political channel, and anybody who brings political opinions and stuff to the channel will be banned. Period. We got enough. We've got too much hate in this world. Period. End of conversation. Moving on. So back to Paul Hudson. Yes, Paul, Traumas are great. Yeah, they make a really solid tankless water heater. I personally chose Gerard. I chose a Gerard when I upgraded the water heater in my 40-foot Class A. And in the 5 years I had it installed, it worked flawlessly. And it sips propane. So I don't have any problems. And like, I think if you just tuned in, I just got myself a truck camper I'm going to be rehabbing, a 1994 model. And one of the first things I'm going to do is put that tankless water heater in for you. Just a quick reminder, give me that thumbs up if you appreciate the content. That's a great way to support the channel. Subscribe if you're not subscribed, and make sure you ring the notification bell. Again, there will be premiere videos on Sunday nights at 7 p.m. Mountain Time. I'll be live with you, so you can ask me questions about the projects that I'm showing you. And then, of course, the live streams will continue on Tuesday nights at 7 for the foreseeable future. Okay. I'm getting time warped because of the time flip back. Oh, the last thing before we wrap her up, because we'll be doing that here shortly. Any veterans in the audience, thank you for your service. Veterans Day is a day that I stop and I think about some of the people that I served with and some of the people that work for me. And, we shared stories of our time in the military. And the way that America has treated their veterans is appalling to me. for people that will give their life for this country, and they come back and they don't get the support they need. And I know a few veterans that need some support, and they're having a really hard time getting it. So thank you, veterans, and here's to Veterans Day. Okay, so Gary Reed. Oh yeah, so that's what I did, is put in strips. It works. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, send us some pictures, Gary. trbullen@gmail.com. I can share those. Tom Downey, 22-year U.S. Navy veteran, 5 Vietnam cruises. Wow. Tim Meyer, proudly served in the United States Air Force. Thank you, boys. Thank you, gentlemen. I was the U.S. Army right after Vietnam. A very bad time to be in the Army, but that's another story for another day. All right. Last call for questions. Any questions that you might have regarding RVing? Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you on Sunday night. I'm really excited about the project. And it should be fun. I should get a lot of content out of it. Got a lot of things going on with Rusty, the Newmar Dutch Star, doing some repairs for Rick, who's going to be picking it up. And so, yeah, stick around for all those. Yes, 2 feathers. Thank you, veterans. I'm so thankful you've helped keep us free. Yes. That is about as political as this channel will get. Okay, I think we'll call her good. What do you say? Last call. All right. Thanks so much, everybody. I do appreciate you joining the stream tonight, asking your amazing questions, supporting the channel in the way that you do, and stick around for more great content, because I'm excited to get started on a new project, and I hope you'll all enjoy it. But for now, I think it's time to go. Thanks for watching. I sure do appreciate it. Till we get together next time, peace.